Fraud is no longer just a risk for auto dealers, it has become part of everyday operations. Experian Automotive's Fraud Protect solution helps you catch income, identity, and trade-in fraud in real time without slowing down the sale. Stop fraud. Keep deals moving. Experian Automotive's Fraud Protect.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Wednesday, August 26, 2026. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, Honda says a new U.S. assembly plant might not happen without a USMCA deal. Hyundai is making its biggest product push ever, with more than 100 new models on the way. And Lincoln is bringing back a familiar nameplate, straight from China. Plus, yesterday, we heard from AlixPartners Soumya Sen on Ford's Apple Maps partnership and where the software-defined vehicle race is headed. Today, he gets into why so many automakers are struggling to actually execute on their SDV ambitions.
It's clear that it's not a money problem, it's an execution problem.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. Honda says its plans for a new North American assembly plant hinge on the fate of USMCA. Honda Executive Vice President Noriya Kaihara told reporters in Washington that without a trade deal extension, the automaker may have to change direction on an eighth plant. Honda is near full production capacity and wants a new facility running by around 2030, but says it needs to decide within a year or two. The automaker is also navigating new 50% U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods, though Kaihara said Honda is not passing those costs on to buyers. Hyundai is making its biggest product bet yet. CEO Jose Munoz used his annual Investor Day presentation in Seoul to unveil a plan for more than 100 new or refreshed models over the next 4 years, targeting a 35% jump in global sales by 2030. The highlights? A Santa Fe E-Rev built in Alabama with 600 miles of range, a Genesis GV80 hybrid, and Hyundai's first body-on-frame pickups and SUVs. Munoz called hybrids the easiest path to higher profits. And Lincoln is reviving the Corsair compact crossover as a Chinese import for 2027. Ford's luxury brand says it will price the model just under $49,000. The Corsair was Lincoln's second bestseller before it was discontinued late last year, and its return gives dealers a much-needed fourth nameplate. Lincoln has said it will phase out China imports entirely by 2030. Joining me now to talk more about it is Michael Martinez, who covers Ford Motor and its brands for us at Automotive News. He's also one of my co-hosts of the Weekend Drive edition of the show you can catch every Saturday. Mike, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Thanks, Kel.
All right, Mike, so what's the business case for Lincoln importing a car from China right now, knowing it plans to exit China imports in just 4 years?
Well, I think this is an admission that the low end of the market, so to speak, that entry level for a product such as a compact crossover is still important. Lincoln and Ford maybe are realizing they made a mistake in discontinuing the Escape and the Corsair, because less than a year later, Lincoln's deciding to import one from China when it's going to be subject to 52.5% tariffs, same as the Lincoln Nautilus. And you can't imagine they'll be making that much money for a small vehicle like that. But the business case is still so important. They need something in that segment. They need an entry point for customers to experience Lincoln, that they've decided to bring it back over.
Now, Lincoln dealers have been pushing for more product. How does the Corsair fit into the brand's broader lineup strategy going forward?
Well, we know that we've reported in future product that Lincoln is likely to get an electric crossover about the same size as the Corsair near the end of the decade. It's going to be one of the products on Ford's Universal EV platform. We don't know if they'll use the Corsair name or pick a different nameplate. We know Lincoln's also going to get a Bronco off-roader. So dealers should be prepared for new types of products, maybe an expansion of what Lincoln means to the luxury buyer. Maybe they'll get some new buyers in there. So we're not quite sure yet how long Corsair will be around. They're starting for the 2027 model year, obviously ending China imports in 2030. So that means they're going to have to figure out something for that nameplate. Either you transition it to that EV crossover, we've reported it's coming, or maybe you drop it again. But the point is, the Lincoln lineup will be shifting in the near future.
All right, Mike, always insightful. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Cal.
You can find all of Michael Martinez reporting on Lincoln and Ford at autonews.com. Coming up, AlixPartners Soumya Sen explains the real bottleneck in the SDV race. That's next on Daily Drive.
Fraud is no longer just a risk for auto dealers. It has become part of everyday operations. According to Experian Automotive, nearly 9 out of 10 dealers say fraud is a top concern, and 70% say it's on the rise. We're talking about real deals slipping through, costing dealerships $10,000, even $20,000 per incident. And it's not just one type of fraud. You've got forged income documents, fabricated salaries, synthetic identities, even trade-in scams. The worst part? Catching fraud often slows everything down, adding friction to deals and frustrating legitimate customers. That's where Experian Automotive's Fraud Protect solution comes in. It's designed specifically for dealers, helping you quickly detect income, identity, and trade-in ownership before it hits your bottom line. No guesswork, no unnecessary delays, just faster, more consistent verification so you can protect your profits while keeping the buying experience smooth. Because the goal isn't just to stop fraud, it's to keep good deals moving. Experian Automotive's Fraud Protect. No more. Risk less. Sell smarter.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Yesterday on the show, we heard the first part of Molly Boygon's conversation with Soumya Sen, Senior Vice President in the Automotive and Industrial Practice at AlixPartners. Today, the conversation gets into what actually separates a successful SDV partnership from just an announcement.
Can you just say a little bit more about that differentiating software-defined layer? Like what makes it, what about that layer makes it either a successful collaboration or just a sort of announcement without material benefit?
Yeah, as we have seen, there's a lot of investment that has been announced and also written off in the name of software-defined vehicle over the last many years by automakers throughout. And it's clear that money, it's not a money problem, it's an execution problem, right? Automakers, despite 65% of the automakers, despite all of the investment, we've seen that they take more than 8 weeks to just ship a software update. I mean, that's slow. So that it's not the money, it's not the talent, there's an execution problem. And that's where we try to help and work with our clients, right? To how to make them operate differently, essentially. Because you cannot operate in the same way we have been doing pre-software era, pre-AI era. So that's the first step. And then the second thing is all about on the technology side, you need to have your architecture, your modularity enabled into the software brain or the foundational layer that I'm talking about, which enables you to plug and play current technology as well as future technologies. So even in this example, or speaking about Apple Maps as an example, they're providing their Maps SDK, which would be theoretically used by Ford to customize to enable not only maps, not only autonomous driving, but also things like mapping the EV charging stations for their EV vehicle and optimizing routes. Those are the key capabilities they don't have to invest on. They can just rent that capability from someone like Apple.
Right. That makes sense. What different players, automakers, suppliers, software companies are doing to maximize the use of AI in the vehicle while managing the compute requirements? Like, I know that one of the things that people are doing is having LLMs in the cloud that are called for like complex voice interactions and stuff like that. But I'm wondering if there's anything else that you're aware of, like how are companies kind of getting around the compute intensity of AI and the demand for AI features on board the vehicle? Do you know of any other ways that people are getting around that?
I think they are also now partnering with these tier 0.5 suppliers where they can optimize. Now we're talking about the hardware architecture. where they can optimize certain portions and the cores and the MCUs of the hardware architecture to optimize for the edge AI capabilities. And again, we come back to the from a technical standpoint, SDV architecture needs to be well thought of, where you are able to portion off and manage your resources effectively on board on the vehicle, and also take in newer technologies in future, right? And some of the other things that when I was in the industry and working on such projects, we would always plan for from a hardware capacity and capability standpoint, technologies that we don't even know it will come in 5 years, but we should plan and prepare for that when it comes, we should be able to provide that as a software update. But to be more effective and efficient, yes, we will still mostly see the use of LLMs for complex models and tasks being outsourced to the cloud.
That makes sense. And when you talk about the tier 0.5 like leverage, I guess, so you would have a tier 1 who's providing the chip, and then you would have cores and MCUs and processors or something that would be like, I don't know, like tweaked or like what, can you say a little bit more about what the tier 0.5 is doing to the existing hardware?
Sure. Yeah. So they are essentially helping customize based on roadmaps, based on the ambitions set by the OEMs, how the chips and the whole system should be fabricated and optimized for it, right? You can buy a chip or from off the shelf or contact a chip provider to sell you a powerful chip, but for automotive use cases they need to be really specialized. And I remember in parallel to SDV and EVs 5 years ago, many companies were also investing in fabricating their own custom built to print chips. So that is what we see now is becoming more and more a focus, a backbone of enabling anything related to AI and compute. So that's where the vendors were able to provide that, which is not your traditional tier 1 suppliers, because tier 1s would try to bring all this in, get off the shelf compute capacity and put software and help integrate, put it in a box and provide that to the automaker. They are not able to do that for these high compute intensive capabilities and hardware requirements. So that's where the partnerships are now emerging between automakers and tier 0.5. And that puts question on how to best still keep your relationship and make use of the tier 1's capabilities, right? So if the tier 0.5 is giving me the chips and the SoC, how do I best operate here in this environment now?
Right. And are the tier 0.5s from consumer electronics, or are they existing auto industry like hardware players?
No, from consumer electronics. Yeah. But also hardware players are, trying to level up, that we see the likes of many hardware providers that we know of.
You were saying that, as a developer or an engineer, you're trying to anticipate the technology that may be coming down the road. And are you getting at a sort of modularity strategy? Like, I guess, can you just say a little bit more about that now? Because I think I sort of understand what that was like pre-AI, but it's hard for me to imagine now with AI, just because the changes have been so rapid. I guess my larger question is, how has AI changed that, the actual tangible way of doing that in the process of development and product planning and stuff like that?
No, that's a great question. I think that's one of the key areas of my interest as well, like how we are, like when we focus on AI these days, especially in the context of automotive development, the focus is always at the end customers' features that they can touch and interact with. In my focus and in the practices and in our engagements with clients, we talk a lot about everything else before that, because AI is practically now in every aspect of this development lifecycle, and that's what we talk about and engage with our clients on. How do we optimize that best? Because we know about AI in chat services, we know AI in software development, but there's also in hardware design, optimization of networks, optimization of testing, simulation. You can run a lot of different iterations in the design, development, and testing process, which prior to having access to these tools would take much longer and many more resources that you will not be, aiming for the best possible solution. So that's what this has really helped in development, and we will see, I'm sure, in the next forthcoming years, incredible products come out of that because of that capability that has been provided to the engineers of the world.
Soumya Sen spoke with our own Molly Boygan. You can find all of Molly's reporting on technology and innovation at autonews.com. That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Michael Martinez and Hans Greimel for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on tech and innovation, USMCA trade talks, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back tomorrow for a conversation with Flavio Volpe, president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, which represents auto suppliers in Canada, about the reignited trade war between the U.S. and Canada.
We're seeing that uncertainty on this temporary tariff is causing permanent structural damage for the footprint here.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoyed the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.